All right. Indigo X, myself. I'm back. I'm back in a very, very familiar light. As you can see, the ring light in my eye because I have glasses because I can't see. Let's break that down a little bit further. But I'm not even gonna say this is episode one. I know I took a long little hiatus, get my mental right, get a lot of stuff more stable. But this is actually episode 15 of Indigo's Corner, and we are coming back, but we're coming back with a bang because today we have Jay on the show, a woman of many talents, art. I don't even know what to call you, so I just say an artist because pretty much anything that you put your hands on, it turns into something out of this world, pretty much. So give it up for yourself. Welcome to the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Let's go. Let's start from the beginning. Give us your background. Tell us where you're from. Childhood days.
Ooh, all right. So, born and raised in Hopkins. Proclaimed the name and kept the name Jayanna Carter. Made it short because, everybody had to screw it up in some way. But at the end of the day, life is good. So, country girl living on the countryside. Everybody thought I was from DC for some reason. I have no idea. And then I came to public school. I was always in private school, and I think that changed my perspective. So I've been put into a lot of situations where I felt like I went from something small and sheltered or private and very concentrated to like this big world. And it's like, oh, wow. So went to Lower Richland High School. Shout out to the Diamond Hornets. And then after that, got my cosmetology license, went to Columbia College, didn't know what to major in, thought I wanted to be in business, sucked at math, and definitely wanted to go into communications because I love people, love talking, and then ultimately got into art. So everything from dancing, stepping, to hand drawing, wood carvings, and then at some point it just became videography and photography. So ultimately graduated with 3 degrees, got into video and started getting into more PR, more writing, getting to know people, facilitation, and ultimately I am here. Boom, an artist in your eyes.
So just growing up, like, was it always in the direction of art, or what was like your first like thing that you said, well, I want to do that when I get older, I want to grow up to be?
Yeah, so it's so weird. I always wanted to be, my thought when I wanted to grow up was a cowgirl because I had this infatuation with horses. So that was, far-fetched. Rode a horse, it hurt. But ultimately, yeah, art just kind of was there. Like, I never really paid attention to it, but as I started getting into the psychology of who I was and how things derive like from your foundation and how it continues to grow as you get older. My uncle was in photography, my cousin, my dad did all the graphics and videos for church. And then on another note, on the educational side, my mom and her sisters and some of my aunts, other aunts on the other side, all of them were in education, but some of them were like seamstress and they were tailors and they just, made wedding dresses on the side, which is strange to me. But ultimately it's some form of art or communication on either end. And so, kind of looking at that foundation, I will always draw. So everybody has their go-to drawing thing, whether it's a sun in the corner of your paper or some name that you draw. So yeah, that just kind of kept generating. So I had like this stick man that had these saggy pants, and Soulja Boy was the thing at the time. So I would always draw a Soulja Boy, low-key. That eventually turned into a actual realistic person. So, yeah, I think everything kind of just builds upon itself. You never really, I discovered this new thing. Like, it's always been in you. So whatever you become or whatever your destiny is to be, you have already been doing it. It's just not yet mastered. So that's where I am, going along the process.
That's dope. And normally, like, you hear, like, I think a lot in our generation, that family will do something that's similar, and then we'll grow up and say, well, I want to have my own path. But then we find ourselves right back because, like you said, it was instilled in us. Did you ever have that moment where you like, where I want to do something else since my family is doing this? And what brought you back to doing art?
Yeah, for sure. So ultimately, some people have parents that were doctors or whatever the case may be. My mom was a cosmetologist, so she's been a cosmetologist for over 50 years. And she was like, yeah, you should go do this. And I was like, I don't want to do hair. And ultimately I did it, but I found the artistry in it, less of the technicality of like, oh, this is how hair grows. And of course we want to, see the health of the hair, but mine was mainly in like, I want to see dreads, I want to see braids, I love to cut. And that was my way to find my way to art. So in any situation, whether it be writing, I always take the creative route. If it's something that is, more technical or presenting something that may even be a legal presentation, I still find a way to give some attribute to my art. So, yeah, I think in a sense, especially like how you said, like the earlier generation, they did stuff out of, I'm gonna come take care of my family, so I'm gonna get this job that I might not like. Mm-hmm. I have to align my life, my job, everything that I do, and every person that I have a relationship with has to feed that creativity. And it has to be an encoding, decoding. It's never a, I'm just giving and giving, and then I have nothing else for myself.
Facts. Because I think, and I love that our generation is taking a step upon not just doing stuff for money, but we want to find a career that gets us paid, take care of the household, but also something we love doing. My dream is just to wake up, earn a check, and smile, like not have to wear I'm going to work today, So that's a big part of it, real big part of it. So what's your inspiration other than family? Like, do you have a artist you look up to, a celebrity or anything like that? Where does a lot of your inspiration come from as far as that?
That's interesting. I think all my inspiration kind of comes from just life in general. I wish I could attribute to a specific person or a specific artist. But at one time, I guess I can, it was Lauryn Hill. I listened to a lot of her interviews, and I know everybody has a lot of different opinions about maybe the way that she lives or whatever. But in a sense, if you really listen closely, she kind of does tell you a lot, like people that are really in art and really are talented that has the gift. We can see it in a lot of people. Like we went from Nicki Minaj to many people that started underground that had an original story, and then they went mainstream, but they didn't have time to live, so they only could influence or they only could rap about the things that they experienced, which at the time is bottles, cars, people that's jealous of them, all these different things, right? But listening to Lauryn Hill, it kind of like made me think like, okay, take a step back, like. All these different people and all these different influences and social media are giving us so many different things to fight against. And that's a lot on the mental as well. But really thinking about who I am and what I want to create and not trying to listen so much to social media or society, because it can become an influence till, you think you're creating something original that somebody has already done. And I'm sure music engineers, rappers, everybody can say that same thing. We don't intend to copy people's flow, but it happens. And so just in real life, just living and experiencing life and taking all these social things that's happening, all these stories and all these things that's impacting people, and really saying, okay, what does it mean to me? And how can I use my art to display it back out? And it looks different for everybody. So, yeah.
And so you talk about keeping your own eyes on your own art, but I know you have a team with you. So how do you stop from, because as an artist, you hear an opinion on this, you should take the picture this way, you should have this outfit. So how do you keep your mental together on your vision and try not to let outside influences change your eye and your direction?
Got it. I guess to back up a little bit, just to give listeners some context. So I have a business called Collab Content. Ultimately, it's a minority-based media and marketing group. So we do logistics as far as videography, photography, music videos, any kind of production, but oftentimes we do it for small businesses, artists, as rappers, videographers, whoever, and also nonprofits. So that's our focus. And so when we're creating content, and also, you know, they have their own artistry as well. So I have to take that into account. But working with other artists as well, that's why it's called collab content. Everything is oftentimes seen through multiple lenses. And sometimes I have to take a step back and say, okay, I cannot put my own thought and vision into this thing. And a true artist understands that you go into it with this one thing in mind, and by the time you finish, it becomes something totally different. So I try not to give myself too much heavy critique when I'm first getting started, because it's like, you never know. It's life, and that's just how it starts. So to answer your question, I think everything that's built off of what we're doing is it has to be influenced a little bit, mainly just to cater towards who our audience is and who the client is that we're working on. So I think all this comes together to help build upon life in general. Like, some things are going to be influenced and some things are not going to be influenced. So that's just how we roll.
Okay, and is there ever a moment where you're like doing something for an artist and they just are headstrong with something, and you're kind of like, well, I think we should. So how many times do you, like, how long of a point do you give it would be like, all right, we're just gonna do it your way, but I think.
Oh yeah, like when I first started, I was oh God, I have the perfect example. When I first started doing music videos, I would start off by myself as more of the director. So everybody else will be like, oh yeah, we're following your lead, no big deal. And so, you know, I give the artists creative leeway. Like, tell me what you want. If you want to fly on a cloud, let's do it. But yeah, sometimes like try to give them some logistics, because my main thing is like clarity. I have to take myself, remove myself from the storyline and say, okay, if I'm the viewer and I take your song, your lyrics down, and I'm just looking at this, can I understand what you're trying to do? If I cannot take the words away or take away the sound and I'm lost, then it's not working. And so fighting back with yes, with a client, or literally in the battlefield, is almost funny sometimes, because it's like I feed back all the information that they're giving to me and say, okay, so this is what you're saying. And they say, I see how that can be confusing. So yeah, sometimes it's a matter of active listening. And I think a lot of people don't do that. So yeah, just dealing with that, I think is really interesting. It's an interesting process, but it also comes out to be, you know, they're the client. If that's what they want, give it to them. But you know, all I got to do is guarantee that it's going to be a quality piece on my side. So.
There we go. Real quick, funny story. As you say, you went to LR, I went to LR. We knew each other since high school. Years down the line, it was 2021. I started working at Spectrum, and I became real cool friends with the guy. And he just kept talking. He does photography, which is so crazy. And one day we were sitting in our little training class. He was like, yo, this girl, she always taking dope pictures. Like, she really does. She's a real good photographer. She's got dope video. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of people out here with dope pictures. I was like, who is it? And he was like, Jay. I said, let me see the picture. I said, I know her. So,
who is that? Who asked you that?
Andre Photography.
Yeah, Dre's fire.
Him. Yeah.
Oh,
we worked together. Yeah, and it was just funny. We were just having a casual conversation. The world's so small. I was like, I went to high school with her. Yeah, she's really dope.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
So let's talk about fashion now, because you're always popping out with a fit on. If people follow you on Instagram, or they don't follow you on Instagram, you're gonna come on the feed someplace. Where did that come from?
I think that just comes from like the art in general, like expressing yourself. So Lord, the craziest thing, I guess it's not really a story, but it is. When I first got into corporate America, so like I, started doing my business full time after COVID, but then I went back to work because, real life hit, y'all. And, sometimes it's weird. Like the world is so weird, like things that they need to teach us in school in real life. Like, trying to get a house here, and they're like, oh, we need some real life traction. Have you worked with somebody for 2 years? So, side note, if you're trying to get a house, work for somebody for 2 years.
Yes. Please jot this down, please.
Please write it down. You got to have it. And it has to be full time. So I'm oh my God. So I'm at these people's job and I'm like, okay, I'm still in my field doing what I'm doing, like everything, marketing, PR, writing. I love it. But ultimately, like, you know, corporate America, you have to dress a certain way. And so being the younger generation, you know, sometimes I pop out with some crazy pants and they're like, okay, all right. And then, you know, I try to pull one of these numbers, try to pull one of these out. And they was like, all right, look. I was like, okay, all right, that might be a little too far. But yeah, ultimately, I think that's just expressive. Like, the world has to be progressive. And I'm not saying, like, you know, we have to be so expressive, but whether that's corporate America, wherever you work, or whatever you do, represent what you do. Like, if I'm a hairstylist or whatever, and you see me in the street, my hair done, you know, I'm not representing. And I know oftentimes we see that a lot, but, you know, just within our community, just to elevate us to the next space, if you are in fashion, you often see people with fashion. If you are a doctor, you often see them with a lab coat. So represent whatever you're going to do it and represent it well. Like, it's almost like that idea of, you know, the Beyonce, I woke up like this. You should wake up like that 24/7. You should always be on in your profession 24/7. So I try to stay awake. Yeah.
All the time. So on average, just say you're going out for a show. How long does it take you to get ready?
Maybe the makeup is the part that takes the longest, but I would say maybe 3 hours for sure. Yeah. Cause like, I try to be this girl, like I try to not to be that girl that's like, oh, I'm running through my closet and I'm just throwing stuff. Like, I legit just want to already know what I'm gonna wear. If I know what I'm gonna wear, I already have that ironed, whatever needs to be done. But face gotta be crazy. My eyebrows gotta be on it. If my eyebrows off and one is like, I can't do it. So yeah.
So how does it feel to be a household name? And I say that because, like I said, I worked with Dre at Spectrum and your name came up. You can, like I said, you may not follow you, but you will see some of your work often come up on Twitter or Instagram and things like that. So how does that feel?
I feel like it's so crazy because I'm so in it that I don't get to back up sometimes and see it. So I think I love it because it's really not about me. Like, as much as, you know, I might talk or you might see me doing stuff, like, ultimately, like, it's about my clients. It's about the movement and the impact that I'm making. So half of the stuff that I do is about, hey, let's do this educational thing for the kids. Let's, you know, if this client or this person, I see they're struggling with their social media, struggling to get their name out there. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, this will just be my passion project and I'll do it for free for this, you know, for this month or whatever. And that just kind of feeds my soul. And sometimes it's just good to give back, like in any profession. That's why all basketball players and anybody that actually has made a name for themselves, they come back and give back because, you know, they might play the game and they might get all these trophies and awards, but they wouldn't be who they are today without the people that backed them up, that built that foundation. So ultimately, I want to make sure I take care of the people that help me build that foundation, but also the people that are going to continue to build upon that building in the future. So yeah, it's not about me. Like, I do so much, but I just need to make sure that my image is upheld. You know, we all human, we all make mistakes, but at the end of the day, like, I want to make sure whatever my impact is so severe that it's thrusting whoever it is next to the next level. So
I get you. Where did that humble nature come from? Because I feel like you're still the same person. Like, you can just have a conversation with you for like an hour about random stuff. Where did that come from? Like, because I say you are a household name now, but if I feel like if somebody just see you in Food Line, you would just have a random conversation. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, man, I don't know. You know, I think being down in the South, That's Southern hospitality. Get your girl right. Yeah. But ultimately, I think, we just always grew up like that. Like, just being down in the country, like, oh, hey, y'all, whatever. Even, like, so crazy. Like, I'm able to travel, and I've been so many places now. And when I went to freaking New York, they was like, oh, don't talk to nobody in New York. And I went to Manhattan for the first time, and I was like, these people are almost nicer to me. Y'all told me not to talk to nobody. Like, one lady, like, jabbed me a little bit. I was like, oh, snap. The lady was like, oh, my God. I was like, ma'am. so, like, I don't know. Like, it's so crazy. But I think, honestly, and this is like get your pens out again. But one of the reasons why I think this is like it's an innate thing. Like, I've been built like that. But ultimately, the reason why I'm able to have my name out there or have so much exposure or go so many places, and most of it not to boast, I haven't paid for, or I haven't really, in my eyes, I don't really should not have the privilege to be there, is because the relationships that I build. So oftentimes we look at social media and we're like, oh, this person got 15K followers and, they're making money in the monetizing situation. Like, at the end of the day, like, it's not even about the money and it's not about the followers. One person can change your life. And I've learned that over and over, like, just one person has come and maybe instilled a word in me, or said, hey, I'm gonna help you do this. Or, maybe I said something to them, and that has taken us to a whole nother level. And so I've learned to be humble because, one, I don't know everything. Two, there's somebody that is my destiny helper. And we all have destiny helpers in all situations of our life. So wherever we go, whoever we meet, we never know who that person is. And not trying to be an opportunist, but we should treat everybody fairly. Like, we don't really have a reason. Yes. All of us only here for like 2 seconds. So, make it count. Even if that 2 seconds is like, oh, me waving my hand. Sometimes that might be the only hey they get for that day. You don't know who's on their last leg. And honestly, like, you don't know, what could happen. So.
Mm-hmm. And also, along with that, you just somehow how it was innate and built in you. When was it? I know you said you always like had a thing with art, but when did you realize that you had, like they say, an eye for it? Because a lot of people can say they love art, but they don't have like that eye to get the perfect shot or the perfect picture or video. Like, when did you know you had like the it factor?
Right. I think some of it is all like learning. So in some ways, like, I've seen different stuff and I thought I was just in my head. And I just was like, okay, that looked kind of interesting. So like, I just pay attention. Like, being self-aware is important. Like, sometimes I'll just drive down the street and I'm like, oh, that would be dope for a shoot. Or I just play music. I'm just listening to the music as I'm driving. I'm like, ooh, I can see that. Okay. So ultimately, like, getting your groove, we are sensory beings. So if that means you see things or you hear things or you feel things, pay attention to whatever that sensory is and tap into it. So if you're into music, take that music on the road, go somewhere and isolate yourself and see if that's your thing. If it's not and you get frustrated, it's not your thing. I can live in art all day long. I could draw, paint, whatever it is, and I will not be upset about it. And it might not be the best painter because I am not a painter, but I can do it and I will try it out. So, I think it's definitely like a growing thing. Like, you can feel whatever you really meant to be into. And it's just gonna take you. And I think that brings us back to the whole, whatever's in you has always been in you. So, sometimes we take jobs that is just really meant to pay the bills. And I understand that, but sometimes you just gotta push yourself out there. Like, it's been plenty of times where I was like, oh, I should probably go back to that retail job at JCPenney's, but like, that's not my thing.
Yeah. Okay. That's dope. So, and another question about that with your mindset also, are you because I've seen some people that can be in a room with 30 people and make a song, but I also seen artists that has to be isolated. So how are you when it comes to your creative process?
Okay. I think in production and then like just thinking about an idea, I definitely like to have other people's opinions too, because like the viewer is important. So all of us can see, you know, a sentence that says the dog is walking, but we all have a different interpretation of what that looks like. Is who's holding the leash, you know? What kind of dog is it? Where are we walking this dog to? Is he actually walking? Like, you know, just all these different things that come up. So sometimes it's important for me to be around people and ask them if that's, you know, the kind of space that I'm in. But as far as like processing and editing it, once the actual idea is taped, recorded, whatever, I need to be by myself so I can edit and get it done. So actually the execution and presentation of it, I need to be alone. But yeah, that's just I'm more adaptable in a lot of places that a lot of people are not. So sometimes I can be a chameleon, and that allows me to just, hey, I can go with the flow. But if I can't feel it, you know, just got to be real with myself and just say, okay, look, it's not working. So yeah, you just have, that's what I'm saying. Like that self-awareness really helps because it helps you figure out who you are, what you like, what people you can be around when you're doing your stuff, who you can't be around. And that's no slack to anybody, but like ultimately, like if I can't be around you, I'm just let you know, like, I'm sorry. I cannot do it. I cannot function with you here. Yeah. So
energy is very, very important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very much so.
My last question for you is it's a very, very important question. So
very important.
Which one is more important to you?
Okay.
Putting together the perfect fit for somebody to take pictures, or taking the perfect picture of someone in the fit?
Interesting. I think taking the picture. Mainly because if I pick the fit, then it won't be them.
Okay.
So, you know, they might ask for my opinion, but I'm just, honestly, I'm a descriptive person. So I'm like, oh yeah, like this is fly because da-da-da-da, but this is also fly because this is this. So that gives them that choice to say, okay, this description is a little bit better. I like that. But yeah, like I try to, like, when I say I try to remove myself as much as possible, I try my best to like be on the outside, legit just be a viewer and get recording or get capturing in a sense. And yeah, I think that's important because like ultimately sometimes, you know, with photographers and videographers, we all have a style that we shoot in, and everything can be so templated to our style in our mind. When we create and then we're creating all these profiles or creating this portfolio, everything starts looking the same. And so, you know, you have to remember that everybody is different. One, we might use the same poses, but we gotta allow them to be themselves. If this dude don't like to laugh, don't let him smile in the thing. It's gonna look crazy. So yeah, like just allow your client to be free and try to get to know them as much as possible. Another little side note, I guess, for videographers, photographers, any creator, if you're doing anything for a client, is really get to know them. So not telling you to go out and eat food with them all the time, but at least have that consultation and say, okay, yeah, you want a video shoot for your graduation, or you want pictures done for your graduation. Have the questionnaire of set questions, like figure out what their personality is, what kind of music they like. So when they come to your studio, you don't have to fumble and try to find what song. Like, play it on a list, get them right. And people will appreciate that more. They're prone to come back to you more. And it's just going to be an easy ride and easy conversation. So that's all I got.
And if you do listen to this episode, I hope you were taking notes, because you were just spitting game. Listen, you have to listen.
Get the game. Get the game. Yeah, and you might find new songs for your playlist. Like, I do that all the time. My playlist is jacked up because of that.
Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on the show. It was great just getting a lot more info about Jay the person, Jay the artist, as I said. But the floor is yours. You can promote anything you want. Shout out your socials, anything. The floor is all you.
For sure. So, all right. So If you're on Instagram, follow me at Jaianna Carter, JAIANNA .CARTER or collab content COLLAB.CONTENT. We also have 2 events that's happening this year so far. The first one, actually, it's a 1 and 2. So June 17th, we're going to have a boss brunch, which is all for Black professionals to come meet, greet, connect. But also we're building a incubator so that we have everybody's phone numbers, information, not just to take it for the next event, but ultimately so that we can utilize each other in different platforms. And then we're having an after party as well. So more information is coming on that. If you follow me, then you'll learn more about it and you can come and join us at Connect.
Thank you. Indigo's Corner will be in the building. Indigo's Corner will be in the building. I appreciate it, Jay. This is episode 15 and we are out.